Welcome to the Rediscovery Journal, the podcast where healing meets honesty. I'm your host, Sophia. Each week, we dive deep into stories of self discovery, mental health, and the raw, real moments that shape who we are. Whether you're on the journey of growth, seeking clarity, or simply need a reminder you're not alone, you're in the right place. Let's rediscover what it means to truly know ourselves, one conversation at a time. So this week, I have another special guest. I've been really excited the fact that I've been having so many guests lately, but this is a multi-talented artist who does murals, pottery, paintings, and I actually ended up finding them on Instagram. Hi, Bridget. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, and I know you might have to go, but so my name is pronounced Brigitte. I know it's a really hard one.
Really? I'm so sorry.
No, don't even worry about it. I never expect anybody to get that on the first try because it's such a random name. But so my name is Brigitte, and I have been a full-time artist for about 2 years now, just barely over 2 years. I used to be a high school art teacher, and I did love that job, but post-pandemic, things got a little trickier in the teaching world. I don't, yeah, just I one day I just came home for summer vacation and I was like, I don't see it doing this for 30 years. What if I just did art? What if I just tried and see what happened? And now it's a full-time career.
When you made that transition, what kind of art form did you start with first, or what kind of led you to take that first step?
Yeah, so the art that I started with was watercolor, which I don't really even do that much anymore. I prefer acrylic. I like how bold it is. I think it gets a lot of people's attention. But I think it was really just like the first step was just realizing that I was burning out teaching, because it was never that I didn't love the job. A lot of teachers would be like those kids, like no, I loved the kids. I was just burning out. I was giving everything that I had, which I feel like is what they ask of you when you're a teacher. Like, in order to be a good teacher, you have to be giving everything. And I just didn't see that for 30 years. And I was always left with this feeling like I wanted to do other things, but didn't have the energy. And yeah, it really was. I don't want to say I fell into it because it was definitely hard work, but I did just start to see the success roll in the more that I did, the more that I posted online, the more that I just put myself out there, the more opportunities I was willing to say yes to, something else would come of it. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's really cool too. And it's funny you mentioned burnout because when I first started my career in the quote unquote real world, I was in one field and I so much felt kind of the feeling that you described of having no energy outside of that environment and putting my all into it. And then I'd leave work and I would have nothing left for myself. And I actually just officially career transitioned as of last Monday. So I just
That's
started a
awesome.
new job. Yeah. Already within this field, I'm like, this field, this team, I feel so fulfilled. And it hasn't
Good.
even been, a full month within that yet. So it's
Yeah.
really funny how you mentioned having that similar feeling.
Yeah. And I
Now,
think it's, oh, go ahead.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think it's also okay to acknowledge that not everything has to be forever. Like, it doesn't have to be like, it wasn't a failed teaching experience. I had a great teaching experience. I know that I made a difference for a lot of kids. It doesn't have to be forever for it to be successful.
That's such a like sage way of thinking about it. What initially like drew you to art? Have you always been interested in
Always.
art? Really?
Yes,
Okay.
I have loved art for as long as I can remember. My grandfather has a like picture that I drew. It's a bunch of scribbles when I was two. Like
It's so cute.
he framed it and everything. But yeah, I just, as long as I can remember, it was just, I loved it. I don't think I ever, like, people always like, oh, when did you start doing art? I don't think I ever was not doing art. I think as long as I can
Mhm.
remember, I was always doing something. And yeah, and I was a high school art teacher. So it's not like it was like out of my life when I was teaching. And I wanted to be an artist when I was a kid, and my parents were like, that's not a career, that's a hobby. So I went to school to be a teacher, and then I wanted to be an art teacher. And my school was like, they're cutting funding for art. You shouldn't do that. So I got an English education degree. And then again, it's like these limiting beliefs, they come up and you realize that they're just that. They're just limiting beliefs. So I didn't think that I could get a job as an art teacher. My first interview, I was, 22 years old. I walked in and I was like interviewing for the English teacher position. But I said like, oh, what does your school specialize in? And they were like, oh, our school specializes in the arts. And I was like, do you need an art teacher? Because I could pass the state art test, no problem. And you could have a backup art teacher. And they were like, yeah, actually, we would love that. I didn't have the credentials. I didn't even have the degree yet. Like I was interviewing as a student teacher.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, yes, please take the test and you're hired. And it was like literally that simple. And then with
Mm-hmm.
moving into the to being an artist as well, like people were like, oh, that's not a job. But like sure enough, like as soon as I started just doing it, like, oh look, would you look at that? It actually is a job. And it was just a limiting belief.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that because so this past weekend my friend hosted an event and we had a girl there who was doing henna and
Oh, beautiful.
she's in high school and she was actually mentioning I was talking to her about like, oh, what got you interested in this? And she's like, well, I really want to be an artist, but everyone has told me I won't be able to make it. And so I
Oh
don't think I'm
no.
going to get into that. And I told her, I said something similar. I don't know exactly what my words were, but like, if it's something that you love, you shouldn't just give up on it because other
Yeah.
people tell you it's not possible. Because, okay, maybe in different spheres, right, you might not become Picasso,
Yeah.
but you can make a career out of anything.
Yeah.
And also, if it makes you happy, that's so much more
It's
worth it than
worth
being
it.
stuck into a space where you're not gonna be like satisfied. There's so many people in their lives who go through and do careers because what they thought they were gonna do they couldn't be successful in, or there's such a high emphasis on money and they just aren't necessarily happy.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it was so sweet because she was like, "Wow, you have such a way with words," and I'm like,
well,
I'm just trying to be like, I'm just trying to like, obviously have talent. I couldn't do this. I couldn't.
yeah, yeah. Well, you bring up something interesting too, and that is that, like, I think some people feel like if they can't do exactly what they want in the way that they want and make a full income, that it's not going to work. And it doesn't always work out like that, right? Like, okay, maybe you can't make a full income off of just henna at first, but maybe you start, posting your work, you get a few bookings for like parties, and then somebody also wants face painting or something, and you like add on differentiated income that's like in the range of where you want to be.
Yeah.
You
And what she
gain
also mentioned,
popularity. Yeah, and you
she
kind of
mentioned
funnel.
doing like when she was doing full art, she would do realism charcoal. I'm
Up.
like, that
She has
is
like a
something
full.
I don't think very many people can do at all.
Yeah. So
Like, you
she could
shouldn't
take
give up on that.
commissions, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope she like stays on that path because I think that she's so talented and it's crazy to like meet someone who's still in their teens and has so
Yeah.
much ability already. Because I know like I'm not an artist per se. I'm more of like a crafter. So like I have things for my apartment, but they're very quirky and like set for me. I don't think anyone would buy the things that I, make in that aspect. But like going back to you, I feel like it takes such a leap of faith to believe in your internal abilities to say, okay, I'm going to do this full time. How did you kind of work up to that point to know you were good enough?
Okay, that's actually a really good question because I feel like actually people ask me that a lot, and I get like private messages about that a lot. And yeah, so like I said, I came back from this summer really burnt out, and I was just like, I'm going to take this summer, which was a benefit to me. This would have been much harder if I was in a different profession that didn't get, extended time off. But
Mhm.
I took this summer and I started researching because I knew nothing about running a business. And I,
Mhm.
researched how to get an LLC. I thought about like business name, trademark, the logo. I researched like, oh, Shopify or Square or all of this stuff, and really figured out like the basics of what I wanted. And then from there, I just started again, like creating content, like posting things. And I had gotten one job opportunity that was a public facing mural. And it was kind of a friend of a friend. Like it was like somebody who, like, I kind of knew. And it was so I did this mural that faced the street. It faces 7th Avenue in Phoenix. So, lots of people drive by. And somebody saw that, loved it, and hired me to do a mural for their cafe in downtown Phoenix.
That's so
And
cool.
yeah, and as I was doing that, they were like, that we figured out that, that I was still a teacher. I was still teaching at that point. It was the summer, before I quit. And he was like, we would love to do paint and sips at our location. Like, would you be interested in doing that? And I was like, yeah, I could totally do that. Why not? I'm a teacher. I know how to teach stuff. Like, sure. So I
That's a
did this
perfect
one paint and
fit.
sip with them, and that led to a different company, a bigger restaurant, seeing it, and like the manager, and he was like, "Hey, we've been trying to bring this to our restaurant for a while. Like, would you do it here?" I did that one. For some reason I had this intuition and I knew it had to be good. I designed a really good design for them. Like, it was a good piece, and I knew people would want it. I advertised it and it completely sold out. Like, within 24 hours of posting this design, it was sold out. And they were
Wow.
like, "Can you host one more? Can you do this one more time? People are asking us, like, they really want to do it." So I announced, like, Sunday night that tickets are going to go online. It sold out in 7 minutes. Like, people were on the website waiting, and I was like sitting there on this website that I built. It's not even like a booking website, it's just like a Shopify. And I was like, "There's not enough tickets for all the people on this website. What am I going to do?" And I was like, I don't know. I was like in disbelief, but then it just kind of snowballed from there, because then other businesses saw that and they were like, "We'd love to have that here." So it's like kind of interesting, because one of the aspects of my business is these paint and sips, which kind of touches on my love of teaching.
Mhm.
And it's a big income driver for me, and it allows me, to have space in between booking these murals and these markets and these commissions, because I always have something going on and income coming in. So it really is like a snowball effect. So I was doing that after school every day. I would go to
Oh,
school
wow.
8 to 4. I would get home around 4 p.m. I would nap until 5, and I would work 5 to 9, 5 to 10. And I was very tired. Like, it was
I can't
probably one of the
imagine.
hardest years of my life, but I knew what I
So
wanted.
fulfilling.
I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be a thing, and I saw that it was working.
Mhm.
So that's what life was like. And there's nothing to say other than, like, it was that hard. It was
Mhm.
like that exhausting. And as far as I know, you specifically like to talk about mental health. I was very
Mhm.
energized by the idea of things going my way and becoming more. But like, I developed like stress eczema on my hands. You
Oh
know what I
my
mean? Like, things
gosh.
I'd never dealt before,
Yeah.
because I was just so like wired, like, just like I couldn't. I knew that it was not sustainable to work like
Mhm.
that. But I could also see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I was like, "I'm going to finish out my contract. I'm going to go to May, and I'm not going to
Mhm.
sign again." And so by the time I quit my teaching career, I had already substantial evidence that my art career was going to make up
It's
that
going to be
income.
successful.
And
It's
indeed it
so
did.
interesting how opportunities come, right? And you don't necessarily know where it's going to take you. But if you hadn't taken that opportunity to even do that one mural, right? Where would you be now? You would be in a
Yeah.
completely different space, but you took a chance on yourself. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do. I always find it easier to do things for other people than to do them for myself. So seeing somebody who had like the strength to be like, "I'm going to go full in on myself," that is so inspiring, I feel like. So one thing I also want to talk to you about was your company's name,
Oh
Prickle
yeah.
and Pine.
Yeah.
How did you come up with Prickle and Pine Designs? Like, what
Yeah.
inspired that name?
Okay, so I obviously, live in Arizona, and I love Arizona, and I love the desert. I mean, we have the most beautiful sunsets. It's really incredible. But I started to love Arizona when I moved to Flagstaff for university. And
Okay.
I I always tell, like, I almost don't even want to like tell people. Like, I don't want to like give away the secrets, but like, I do actually. Flagstaff is just incredible. It's an incredible like community. And I think people don't realize that we have like a full forest. It snows here in the winter. Yes,
Really?
people don't know that. Yeah. Yeah, no, full 4 seasons, beautiful autumn weather.
That's crazy. I thought Arizona was just hot all the time.
No, no. I mean, yeah, it is dry, but yeah. So Flagstaff, Arizona, look it up. It's like, have you seen Sedona, Arizona?
No.
Okay, Sedona is also like a big, like, it's one of the biggest tourist destinations in the country, and it's a high desert. It's
Okay.
gorgeous. But that's the thing, is it's like somehow Arizona gets overlooked as like, "Oh, it's this dry desert. Oh, it's so hot." And yes, it is. It's so hot in the summer. I don't recommend going. But there's kind of this like hidden aspect, and that is that we have like the most diverse terrain in the country. Like, the single
Mm,
most amount of like like differentiation in the plants and the levels in like the
nice.
entire country.
Okay.
And it's fascinating and it's beautiful. And like, I was just blown away. And if you've never visited the Grand Canyon, like, it's just special. It's like overlooked and special to me. So the name, literally, like prickle, like prickly pears, like the
Mhm.
cacti, and pine,
Yeah.
ponderosa pines, are this is the biggest ponderosa forest in the country that we have here. So yeah, so The prickly pears and the ponderosa pine, prickle and pine designs.
I love that. Do you think that the nature around you in your area really inspires some of the work that you do? Because I feel like a lot of the stuff that you do is kind of entwined with the beauty of nature.
It is. It's that combined with, I don't know, the word that people always use for me is like whimsy. I feel like I'm looking at
Yeah.
stuff and I'm seeing more than what it is. I'm seeing the emotions associated with it. So like I do a lot with my skies in a lot of my paintings and just make it like abstract or like really fun. And I think people just think I'm being like weird, but I'm like, no, like I want you to understand what it feels like to stand
Mm.
here and be in this place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really love the colors that you use within your pieces because
Yeah.
I feel like they go so cohesively together. And I guess one question I have as someone who like isn't an artist is does when you sit down to do your work, does it come easily to you or is it kind of like an author with a book where you kind of have to you do some work, you have to take a little bit of a break and then you come back?
A lot of times it does actually come very easy to me. I've had projects that don't, but and obviously because I'm a business owner, so not every day is spent creating, right? There's other things I have to do in order to have this be a career. But yeah, I feel like I'll get these like bursts of inspiration and I'm like, nope, tomorrow is a creating day. I'm not doing anything else. For the most part, I find it very easy. Sometimes I'll get stuck in the middle of a painting, not usually the beginning though. Like I don't sit down and force myself to create without an idea. So like the ideas will flow and I might get stuck in the middle and I'm like, oh, something's like not going right or it's the wrong direction. But then I have plenty of paintings that I'll finish the next day. Like I just like go and go
Wow.
and go. And like 10 hours later, I'm like, wow, look, it all came together.
Do you kind of get just struck with concepts or ideas from nowhere, or do you normally have to sit down and think about like a concept that you want to do before diving into it?
I get struck by ideas from, yeah, just like sight, just like walking around, or sometimes like how to explain it. It's like sometimes I'm pulling on that idea that things in life are magical. That's like
Mm.
literally half of the inspiration for everything. Is like somehow the things that we are walking around every day and being like, oh, this is so normal. It's actually not normal. It's actually amazing that we're here right now and that that's what the world looks like. And like one of those things to me is like sunsets. Like in Arizona sunset, they're known for being really colorful and really pink. It has to do with the way that the light hits the dust that's in the air, the desert dust. But like, isn't that kind of magical? Like that's crazy,
Mhm.
right? And like every day is so different. And like even here in Flagstaff, since I'm staying here for the summer, it doesn't have the same sort of sunset as the desert. The like
Mhm.
bright pinks that you see. It's just insane. And I feel like I'll see that and I'm like, people need to see how magical this is. And I kind of just operate with that. I put a lot of line work in my pieces. Line works like having to do with like the pattern of the stars or even like the way that the earth changes elevation. So like topography
Mm.
lines. I put a lot of that in my work, just kind of overlapping the idea of what we see combined with what we don't see that's like so much bigger than us that we're not thinking about it every day.
Well, yeah, and also depending on what area you're in, right? You're not going to get to see the same aspects of life. Like if you think city versus countryside, completely
Yeah.
different, even different like areas within the states or with like outside of the states. Do you ever or have you ever traveled somewhere and then kind of made a piece based on what you've seen during your travels?
Certainly, because my business is Arizona based, it I tend to like try to stick to that just because again, running a business, trying to, make
Have that
a
niche.
theme that works. But yeah, so but like I travel all over the states. There's some very interesting places here, honestly. Lots of haunted places too. Like it's just kind of a weird state. It's very cool. But yes, absolutely. And my family is from California and California is beautiful, objectively
Mhm.
speaking. So yes, absolutely there have been places where I travel or I'm just like, oh, that would make a beautiful painting.
What inspired you to move from Cali to Arizona?
My family moved me here when I was a child, so I didn't like have a choice.
Okay.
But like my
Okay.
dad lives in California and my mom is in Arizona. But like yeah, even when I was an adult, like I chose to stay in Arizona. Ideally, I mean, housing market is what it is, but I would love to move back to Flagstaff, which kind of has, that feel of a little bit. I would say like a little bit of like a mountain town California feel to it.
Okay. I've never been to California before,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'd love to like be sometime. I spent most of my life in Ohio,
Oh,
which
okay,
like
okay.
I tell people I got out as soon as I could. Because the second
Ah,
I graduated, I like went to Georgia. I got a job in Georgia, and now I'm here in Texas. Not a fan of the heat, but I think that the area I'm in is really great for who I am and able
good.
to discover different kind of hobbies or crafting related things to do and meet people. Do you think that getting more involved in your artistic side and starting your own business has kind of led you to meet people you may not have met otherwise?
Absolutely. And you know what's so funny too, just as like a little thing for you too, like if your listeners are wondering about the effects of like following your dreams or like doing what you really want to do, like I swear this is gonna sound so cheesy. You kind of like meet yourself, like you re-meet a version of yourself, like your better self in a lot of ways. And I think it is being in a space, like it's not just the job that leads you to meeting people, it is being your most authentic self that will draw people to you that you would have otherwise never met.
That's such a strong concept. And it's so funny you say that because being in my 20s, I feel like there's so much pressure to be at a specific point by a specific time. And I am currently in the age of literally self rediscovery of like, who am I? What is my purpose? And I feel like in this area with the current people I've kind of drawn into my life, I guess I could say. I feel like I've grown a lot, but I still feel like questioning myself all the time of like, what is my, like, who am I? What am I doing here?
I don't think you're supposed to stop doing that. I don't
Oh
think you
God,
get
this
to
is so
your
scary. I want to know
no,
and just be able to
no.
like not question it anymore, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that. I do think when I think, okay, I'm 32. So I think when I was in my 20s, I thought that I was supposed to like figure it out. And now I think like the joy is that you're always going to be figuring it out. Like if one day I didn't want to be an artist anymore, I don't think that I would like be disappointed. I'd be like, oh wow, isn't it so great that I lived the last like 10 years of my life doing what I wanted to do? What do I want to do next? Like, who am I
Mm.
in this era? And that's different than like, if I don't want to do this anymore, that must mean I failed. Isn't this I already said this was my purpose, right? Like maybe it's not that simple.
Do you think it's partially because there's so much pressure to have things figured out? You know, when I was younger, a lot of the emphasis was, okay, you need to do this by this age so that you can make the next step by a certain age and, you know, chronologically be at a different place. And I think I've kind of realized that, you know, everybody has their own timeline, right? And
Yeah.
so some people might be on that path that was set out when we were younger, and other people might be way off from that, and that's okay. But I think it's hard to like feel self-assured when we've mainly been kind of put in the same situations with the same groups of people, and now I'm like out in the world by myself with no guidelines figuring everything out,
Well,
and it's a
ugh.
little terrifying.
It was always a crime to ask 17-year-olds to make a decision for the rest of their life. Like, oh, you're graduating high school? Please choose a major that you will do a career for the rest of your life. Like, that is crazy. None of us are the same people we were at 17. So, that in itself is just a societal flaw that I think you're right. Like, absolutely. But, like, yeah, I think more and more people are kind of shedding those ideas and just letting themselves be free of some of the constructs made up in
Mhm.
society. And that's a big one. Yeah. Like, who says you have to figure it out by 17? That's wild. Maybe we'll
I
be
can't
50 one day and we'll be like, can you believe we thought we were supposed to figure it out by 28?
I can't imagine being the same person I was at that age. Like that would mean there would be no evolution
Yeah.
for who I was as a being. And not that I was like a horrible person at 17, but you know, when you're more of an adult, you don't want to have some of those same tendencies that you have when you're younger and you're still figuring it out. I notice also, so you have a wide variety of pieces like that are abstract from like fruit to nature.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Yeah.
specific category that you typically love to create more than others? Like, or is it just kind of the inspiration of the moment that kicks in?
I think I do overall love landscapes because, like I said, I like to have people, I like to install ways where people can feel connected or like their natural environment is magical. So probably that, but I think also like some of those other subjects are really based on color for me. And I do
Mm.
just really love working with color. And I get a lot of comments on the color of my pieces. So I'm guessing that somehow that's also resonating with other people.
Well, I think it's possibly because sometimes when we withdraw, at least maybe for me, when I withdraw into myself, I feel like I'm in the thick of it or in the darkness. And sometimes like seeing colorful things or um, really beautiful imagery can help you kind of come back to yourself in that aspect, which is one thing I really like about your work is that it feels like, I don't know, it feels like coming home in a way. Like, even though I've never been to Arizona, I can't like speak for the tone of it, but it just feels so like homey and like beautiful and like makes me want to go to Arizona, even though I've never been
Good.
before in that aspect.
It's okay.
And
I'll
then
show you where the
also,
good spots are.
also going back to like your murals, do you typically like to stick to landscaping for that, or do you kind of discuss with the individuals you're doing it for what their vision is?
Yeah, so that's something this actually might be a good opportunity to just like tell listeners too, like not everything that you do develops all at once. So like in my business, like my paint parties are thriving. I have a huge group of people that not only come back once or twice, but like three, four, five times. In the mural aspect of my business, which is probably one of my favorite parts, like I love doing murals. I love how hands-on and physical that is. I think there's a lot of room for me to grow. This year I set a goal of doing 5 for the whole year, and I have surpassed that already.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
only halfway through. Yeah, so like it's definitely going somewhere. But yeah, one of the things that I noticed about murals is that you do something and people see that and they're like, yes, that's what I want. Give me that. Right. And so then I end up doing a lot of things that are similar to each other,
Mhm.
not because I wouldn't do something else, but because people love what they see and it's
Mhm.
what they see that. So like I try to come up with things that are a little different or, meet their specifications. But a lot of times people are asking me for landscapes because that is the
What they
one that I
know.
did on the wall on 7th Avenue. That was what it was. And so that's what attracted. Yeah. So I would say I'm obviously working with the clients and I do love doing landscapes, but yeah, that's an area where I need to branch out. Maybe I need to do mock-ups, maybe I need to
Mhm.
petition somebody for something totally different, but that's an area that I think I could grow.
If you had to pick or you got to decide on like what mural you were going to do next, if it was outside of that landscaping range, what do you think that you would want to make?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I would probably still think in the realm of like natural objects, probably something a little bit more magical, like a little bit more like fantasy. Like I don't love
Mm.
painting portraits large. I find it very stressful. But like one of the things when I was a kid, I used to love like dragons. Like I just thought they were like
Okay.
cute and fun.
Yeah.
And I could see like combining like landscape with something like magical, right? Like or like magical realism type stuff and like throw in some cute little dragons or rainbows. I don't know. Like I could see that being a very fun project.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. How much time does it take for you to kind of plan out how to go about doing those? Because I mean, with a mural, there's so much space
Yeah.
compared to like I feel like a canvas is a lot smaller of a realm than a whole mural.
Well, luckily we have modern tools. And so I will usually like I have them take a picture of the space and I put that in on my iPad and I'll design on like the photo of the wall on my
That's
iPad.
cool.
Yeah, so when the customer gets it, they get like a full mock-up of what I'm going to do with colors, and that way we can adjust things beforehand if there's like an issue. And then my newest piece of technology I bought, this is so unlike me, but I bought like a VR headset, like a MetaQuest
Oh, okay.
headset, and it literally allows me to like see my design on the actual wall and trace it. So not as long as you would think to get started that way.
Wow, that's so cool to think about, I guess, like art in the
I
current age
know we have
versus, 20
modern tools.
years ago. 20 years ago,
Yeah.
you could never have done that. Now it's like, I mean, I don't think I could do it even with a headset on, but that's
Yeah.
really cool that like you can integrate that technology into it and hopefully save yourself some time in that
Oh
aspect.
yeah.
One thing, okay, so I kind of did like a deep dive into
Oh,
your
okay.
account because I like to try and do
Okay.
some research. So I have two questions about two specific projects that you have done, and it's
Sure.
probably from a while ago. So one of them is this like really cool ceramic solar system piece that you did.
Oh,
I was
yes.
curious, like, what the process was like for this, and also what inspired you to want to make this piece?
That's so funny that you picked that piece because that person is actually now my friend. Like I started out doing artwork for her and now she's my friend.
Really?
Yeah. So during COVID, I've always like been a little bit fascinated with like the sky, like just like the pattern of the stars. And even from like an anthropological standpoint of just like the stories that humans have told with the stars, like that's just been an interest of mine. So of course, despite not having like a full belief system in here, I also have an interest in like the stories that we tell with astrology and different like zodiacs and star patterns. I don't know. I'm just like, I just love it's like that little bit of magic, right? It's like natural world plus human imagination equals like magic, right? So
Hmm.
during COVID, I was like kind of bored in the classroom. They like made us come back to the classroom for a little while, but there were no kids. It was just us sitting on the computer talking to the
You're
kids. It was really,
joking.
no, I'm not joking. It was horrible. I was bored. So like on the side, when like the kids were all working on the computers and I was alone in this classroom, I just started making like clay things. And, you know, the kids were like, we sent kits home with them. So they would also be doing stuff. And
Oh,
I,
okay, I was gonna ask how
yeah.
they would
Oh
able
yeah,
to
yeah.
do any art stuff from home.
Oh yeah, no, they could pick up their little supplies, which you know I carefully put together. But so yeah, so I just started making these little like those planetary things, and I made like something for myself, and it needed like some work. Like it definitely was not all the way thought through, but again. I posted it and this woman saw it and she was like, I adore that. I'm having a baby and we want the room to be themed
Okay.
like a night sky kind of a thing. So I made that piece for her and I was very proud of the piece. I actually think it's like to this day, because you know, sometimes you look back at old stuff and you're like, oh no, I think it's beautiful. And it with the colors were very vibrant. Like I was really particular about making sure all the colors came through. I used like a velvet underglaze. But yeah, so that's how that piece came to be, is it was a commission for
Okay. Because I
this
was gonna
woman.
say I saw that and I'm like, I'm surprised that you only made one because it looks
Yeah.
so good. I was like, okay, you could literally do a whole series on a solar system, I feel like. And then
Honestly, I could.
another aspect that I thought was really cool was you kind of make these like moth or did. I don't know if you still make a moth and like butterfly pieces
Oh yeah.
that are just gorgeous. So like
Thank
what
you.
got you into wanting to make those and is that something that you're still currently working on?
Yeah, so that one actually, I actually have them. I can like show you if you want. I make those now, and
Yes.
it's one of my like best sellers. And yeah, so again, just kind of, I've always loved butterflies. Like I have them on everything. Like my headphones have butterflies on them. Okay, like okay, and I don't know. I make the things that I was looking for, that I wanted and couldn't.
Mm,
And so I call them like dopamine decor, like just like a little
I
cutesy
love it.
thing, yeah, I know, that like makes us happy, right? And I have no idea why the idea came to me on that. I think I was trying to make a fall line last year, and I had made these cute little like candle tea light holders, and I had made these like leaves that were like, you know, trinket dish leaves, like you could put like jewelry in them. And I was like, I need another item. And I was like, well, I love moths. Moths are kind of fall, like Halloween-ish, you know. And so I just made a couple and they were gone, sold immediately. And so, yeah, so now they're part of my normal stock, but they're definitely very labor intensive.
Well, I that doesn't surprise me because they look like they're so detailed too.
Yeah.
Like, what is the process when you want to start making one? Because also, from what I saw, it looks like each one is completely different from the
Yeah.
next. You know, it feels like each one is kind of a one of a kind, not, you know, a remake, but they all have their own like feeling to them.
Yeah.
How do you go about that creation process of making them all different?
So I do have like I made myself templates for these
Oh,
butterflies. So some of the shapes are the same, like the ones that are like a monarch, like right, like everybody wants a monarch butterfly. It's one of the most popular. People have a lot of connections to monarch butterflies because they represent like I think like an in between like passing from people who from the dead. You know what I'm talking about? Like with
okay.
the dead, like monarchs have significance to a lot of people. So like that one, I created a template. I literally like drew a butterfly and I on like a photo paper. And the template, not only can I cut around the template, but it has indents where I have carved the lines for the wings patterns.
Oh,
And so when I press the paper into the clay, which of course has been rolled out nice and thin, I see those lines and I can kind of follow them and cut it so I get a piece that's kind of similar. So there's that. And then I have a series of more generic shapes that I will just do whatever painting color, like they're all different colors, even though the shape is similar. But so yeah, so there's some that are like kind of standard, but yeah, I have about 10 different varieties that I'm just kind of going through and making different versions of, where they're kind of similar but not the same because they are all hand painted. So of course, after getting the carving, the cutting and the carving done, they're very carefully smoothed. They're fired. They come out of that first firing, and I paint them all by hand. So they're kind of one of a kind that way, painted with an underglaze, right? So it's not shiny, and fire them. Put a shiny coat on, fire them, and then I like to add a little bit of gold luster, which causes a third or fourth process firing. But it's shiny. It's really fun looking, and that's kind of like the extra special something that really captures people's attention is the gold that's on those pieces.
Yeah. So do you have your own kiln then?
I do, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm jealous. I see all these people make really cool creations with clay and have their own kiln. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm in an apartment. It's like second floor. Probably not the best
Probably not the
idea to
best.
have one
That would be
at this
heavy.
point. But I think it's so cool. Like people just diving fully in, right? And, I mean, this is also your profession too, but I think it's so cool to have like, I don't know, and it adds that extra effort or piece into it, right? Because you're not taking it somewhere to have someone else do it. You're
Yeah, that's
literally
way too much.
taking care of the piece all the way from the start to the end,
Yeah.
which I feel like, I don't know, that adds an extra level of appreciation, at least for me. Like when I'm buying something and I like see that the person's been fully involved in the process,
Yeah.
it makes you care for the piece more. Do you think that there are any other kind of like animal slash insect kind of pieces that you think that you'll kind of dive into, or do you think you want to just stick with like butterflies and moths?
I've done some other things before for sure. Like I've done like little like paint palettes where there's like little animals that like hold up the brush. I've done bumblebees before. Like I've totally done other things. But I will say like this actually like the kiln goes back to our conversation on like limiting beliefs, because like when I first like quit my teaching job and I no longer had access to a kiln, I was like, oh wow, well, that was a good run. I guess I won't ever do ceramics again. And I like really believed, I was like, well, there's no way I'll be able to afford a kiln. There's no way I'll be able to hook it up. Like, where would I even store that? How would I do? I don't know anything about this. And I didn't know the firing temperatures. I didn't know the type of clay. I knew nothing. I was just showing up in a classroom where there was a ceramics teacher available because I was the 2D teacher. And there was always somebody to kind of help me. Somebody else ran the kiln. Like I didn't know anything. And I was like, it's fine. I'm not going to be that good. And I was literally like lying in bed awake one night. And I was like, I can't never do ceramics again. Like, that's crazy. And I literally just went onto Facebook Marketplace. And sure enough, there was like a kiln that was like basically brand new. And I was like, yes, it's mine. I will drive to go get it. And I bought this kiln and I learned how to use it. And it's like, there's a version of me that was like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. You're never going to be that person. And then a version of me that said, no, I don't accept that answer. I will learn. And it's like, you really do have to get to that point where you say, I want more for myself. And then you just do it and you follow through and you respect.
You have to really
do it.
You have to really fight through those hard moments, because I mean, I know for me, I think everybody or most people have like that imposter syndrome, that voice in your head that's like telling you all the things that you can't do. But I think the hard part is to push past that and force yourself to do those things that your mind is telling you you can't, but you truly want to do. And I think that that's it's a very hard stop for people. I think it prevents a lot of people from doing things that they really want to accomplish, because like fear is so real, and it's very interesting because it's not like a tangible item, right? Like it's all a mental aspect. Of course there are some things that are like rightfully so. You should fear like jumping out of a plane without a parachute, obviously. Like that's going to be a physical potential thing, but like in general, most of the things I feel like we fear, and I say that as someone who sometimes does let fear overtake my decision-making process. I think that it's so interesting how, like, if you think about really what is the worst case that can happen if I do this, it's normally not even that bad. It's just like, oh, no, someone will say no.
Yeah.
Or I learned from this.
What's amazing to me is how many times the fear of rejection will be what stops you, right? Because there are very real fears, right? Fear of like being bankrupt, not being able to afford your rent. Those are real things. The number of times, like if it is a fear of rejection, you gotta stop. You gotta let yourself do it, because rejection is like a construct. Like it's not even like real. Like there are very few consequences to just like, oh, somebody didn't like that piece. So what? What is the harm that will come to you as a result of that? Nothing.
Well, especially when you consider, like, one of my friends was telling me, because I make, like, I try to make some punch and stitches, if you've heard of those before, and I've done a few art trades with it. I mean, I don't define myself or see myself as an artist, but it's cool that, like, some people who I think are very talented are like, yeah, I'll do a trade with you, and I'm like, really? But you're so
I
good.
love that.
Anyway, she was like, if it's something that you'll like, there's gotta be at least another person out there who would be willing to buy that item.
Yes.
Cause I was like,
Yeah.
I told her I'm not good enough to like sell anything. That's just not, like, I don't have the talent for that. And she's like, but you're good enough for people want to trade with you. You're good enough where you like what you're making. And so therefore there has to be at least one person out there who would like that same aesthetic.
And
And I
it's
think once you
marketing.
kind of brain shift, it's
Yeah.
really weird to think about. But I think it's also, I don't know, going back to the whole like imposter syndrome thing, I feel like it's so much easier for me to hype someone else up than it is for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Like if it was a friend, I'd all
Oh,
in. Okay, we need to do this now.
yeah.
What can I do
No,
to
you
help
gotta
you get to there?
hype yourself.
Yeah,
You
so
have
now
to.
I'm trying that motto people were saying of like treat yourself like a friend, but I think it's so hard when you've
Yeah.
spent years allowing people to treat you a specific way, then you have a lot of those internal negative voices, which of course is something I'm trying to work on
Yeah.
and it doesn't happen overnight, but it's
No.
unfortunate because then I feel bad for young me or younger me that
Yeah.
like I allowed myself to think that way or
Yeah.
I allowed myself to be around people who like didn't treat me right,
Yeah.
you know, and of course it's a good learning experience, but I think it's hard because I don't know if you've heard of the movie Perks of Being a Wallflower, but I always go back to
Yes.
there's this one scene where, and I might butcher the line, so I apologize if I do, and that would be really sad because it is one of my favorite movies, where Logan Lerman's character asks, like, the teacher, why do good people accept like being treated bad? I know I just butchered that. But then the response was we accept the love we think we deserve.
Mhm.
And that has really stuck with me ever since I saw that movie because there's
Yeah.
so many people I feel like I've met in this world who are beautiful, like amazing souls, and yet they allow themselves to be in environments that aren't necessarily helpful
Yes.
or that are
Yeah.
really hurtful to who they are. And it's because we have to go through that life journey of realizing that we are worth more than we think we are. But I think it's really hard when we live into a world where there's so much negativity present all the time.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get wrapped up in that aspect or think, oh, well, there's nothing I as one person can do that would be good enough. So
I
I
will
think it's really,
say,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm just gonna say, like, it's so interesting because by the way, like, I have been the girl in my 20s. I have had the bad relationships. I have been in friendships that people were like mean to me and I should not have accepted it. Like, it's not that I haven't had those things, but I think that you will find anybody, like, you find like a breaking point or you like a turning point where you're like, because you don't have to break. I don't think I ever broke. I think I said, no, I don't accept this anymore. And it wasn't because it was broken. It was because I just realized I could have more. And that comes for people at different times. But like you're saying, like there's so much negativity in the world. Only if you let there be, only if you surround yourself with people like that, because you can surround yourself with people who are inspiring and positive and uplift you, and you will find the more that you do that, the more you don't think that the world is so negative. You know what I mean? Like you are kind of, to a point, constructing your own reality,
Reality.
you know?
That's really,
That,
no,
yeah.
I
And so,
really appreciate that phrasing. And I think it's really interesting that you say that because, I had mentioned earlier I'm going through this career shift. And when I told a bunch of my friends about, okay, I officially like signed a contract, things are happening, I was so taken aback by the amount of like love I received from my
oh,
friends
good.
of like, I'm so happy for you. You deserve this. I knew this was coming for you. And it was like from so many people, I'm pretty sure I just started bawling because I started getting like so many like beautiful
Yeah.
messages from people. Not that I like just, I think it took me back because I wasn't expecting that
You
amount
didn't
of
know that they were there for
love.
you. Yeah.
And I think it's because I don't think of myself as the person who's like the easiest of like accepting like
Oh,
compliments or things
interesting.
like that.
Yeah.
But especially since I moved here to Texas, most of the friends that I have made here have like really shown me what it means to be a good friend or
Yeah.
what it means to be a good friend in terms of being around people who are actually good friends. Not that I haven't had good friends before. I've had some
Yeah.
good friends before. But here it's like the first time where I've been part of a bigger unit where like if you say, hey, I'm just not, I know we had plans on the books, but I'm just not feeling it today. They'll be like, okay, no worries, we'll reschedule. And I'm like,
Not
there's no
toxic.
rebuttal. Like, you're sure you're okay with that? Like, I don't have to explain myself. You're not going to force me to go. And it's so like interesting to see how something so pure has formed in such a short period of time. Like I've only been in Texas since December, and I feel
Oh,
like I've formed some of the strongest friendships that I've ever had where like if I needed someone right now, like they would come and assist me.
okay.
And
This is so
it's
important
wild.
because now you have this evidence that suggests that your world, that you're more supported than you thought, that your world is more positive than you thought. And you have to like take that and not only like internalize that, but also like give that back, right? Because what happens when that becomes an echo chamber, right? When your friend has because you don't know what somebody else is thinking, right? You could have one of those friends that is also thinking like, oh, Sophia, like she's probably gonna be mad about this. And when you take that same attitude and you go, no, girl, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Okay, well, I hope you rest tonight. Let's talk about meeting up next week, right? And you reinforce that, or like somebody tells you they're making like a life change and you're like, good for you. I know you can do it, right? And you're reinforcing that. And then it becomes this echo chamber in your community and in your friend group where everybody is building each other up and you're literally reconstructing the reality that you all live in.
Yeah, and I really hope to them, like, I feel like sometimes it's hard to see or know how you are affecting other people because you don't want to
Yeah.
be like, hey, let me send out a questionnaire of how I'm doing as a friend.
Yeah.
People will be like,
Like weirdo.
huh? But yeah, but like I think I'm very expressive of I feel it's so important to tell people that you appreciate them. And I have weirded some people out by saying like, "Hey, I appreciate you." And they'll be like, "What is wrong with you? You okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm thinking about you. I think about how much of an impact you've made on my life in a positive way, and I just want to let you know that." Cuz I know to me, if someone texted me, "I appreciate you," or called me and was like, "Hey, I was just thinking about you, and I just wanted to let you know that you made a positive impact on my life," I'd be like,
Oh,
me, you
thanks.
know,
Yeah.
like it's just it's like a a nice little thing. And so I feel like it's so important to try and do that, but also it's hard to sometimes tell if the impact that you're making is a positive one because people aren't, open books. They're not always going to say, "Hey, you said this and this upset me." Some people will, but some people will just kind of take it in and not say anything. So I
For
feel
sure.
like hard to sometimes define what point you're at with that. In terms of your art, how do you feel like that has evolved with you over the years? Do you think that it has kind of enhanced as you've gone through different periods of your life?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think art is a reflection of yourself, right? It is like your soul in a way. And so it would be impossible not to develop with you. Just short and sweet. It's like it has to. It has to because you're developing.
I love that state of mind. That's what I'm trying to go with. And then kind of relating it back to your self-discovery journey, how do you feel like, or do you feel like art has played a journey in you figuring out who you are and where you're going as a person?
Absolutely. It is fascinating to me how much I think I always knew that I was an artist at heart. And putting art back into my life has like allowed me to become who I am. Like the journey is like it's like tied together. Like, does that make sense? Like sorry, I don't even remember your exact question, but it is just it's just one. And I do think personally that this was my purpose. And again, not that I couldn't change that later down the road. I don't believe in like set things for life, but like I do think that whatever higher force you believe in, like I was like made to make art, and it has improved who I am as a person. It has improved how I feel about myself. It's improved how I feel about the world. And yeah, it feels like the word is like alignment. It feels very much in alignment for me.
Oh, I love that overall world going on word, not world. So going off of that, it's kind of a related question, but where do you currently feel like you are at with yourself?
Ooh, yeah. Here's what I will say, like just in this very specific moment. So like I live in the Phoenix area and I have temporarily relocated myself to Flagstaff for the summer to focus on creating, to focus on like myself as a creator, not as like a business person, right? Because again, you have to do both if you're going to make money off of it. And oh, I'm so sorry. I must be getting a little tired. Say the question one more time.
No, you're fine. Where do you feel like you are with yourself currently?
Okay, yes, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I feel like I'm in that space. Like where I am is like making sure that like I wanted to take this summer to make sure that I was still a creator, to explore some ideas and concepts and directions and style that I haven't quite been able to explore because sometimes you don't have time to just like dedicate a week to painting,
Mhm.
you know? And yeah, like that's where I'm at. It's like I making sure that I continue to develop as an artist through
Okay,
creating.
cool. And then the next question I have is pretty correlated to that, but it's a question I try to ask every guest I've had on my show, which is what quote unquote era do you feel like you're currently in within your
Ooh,
life
oh my God.
journey?
That's so funny. I saw this question and I loved this question and I was thinking about it and I had a word and now I don't remember my word. But okay, I think, see, I almost want to say self-discovery, but I think I'm like past that. I think I'm in the love life era. And
Oh,
this is so important. It is important to romanticize your life. It is important to love the little things in your life. And because I feel like I'm in alignment, because I'm doing something that I truly love with my life, that idea crosses me so much. And I've started like doing in the mornings a gratitude journal when I wake up. And every morning I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. And I feel like that's like the same thing, right? Like the love life era is like the gratitude era. And like sometimes they're little things. Like sometimes it's like I'm so grateful for sunsets. And like sometimes it's like, oh, I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to live like this and to turn my art into income. And like sometimes it's grateful for people. But
mhm.
sometimes I write down these little things and I'm like, I don't know why, but this is like so important. And one of them is
Mm,
the smell of the dirt. And I don't know if you like know like when
mm.
like you're walking and it's like
Like,
summer and so the heat like heats up the dirt and like combined with the pine, it has like this very particular smell is like nostalgic, right? Like it's one of those senses that like draws us back, and I
mhm.
just like find myself thinking a lot like, wow, I'm like so grateful for the smell of the dirt. And I like that because dirt is the word that we use for things that are worthless. Dirt is the word
Yeah.
that we use for the things that don't matter. It's dirty, it's bad. But like the
Mm.
earth, like you could use the word earth. The earth smells like childhood, smells like nostalgia. It's wonderful. So that era of like just loving the little things in life, that's where I'm at.
No, I love that. And my one friend, it's so funny, she just messaged me last week and was like, I think that there could be this really cool art project where maybe you keep track of every person who's been on the show and what their era is.
Oh, I
And then you
love
can
that.
kind of, yeah, she's like, you can kind of maybe would make it with colors or something. I mean, I'm not the most artistic person, but she's like, even if you just start with a running list, you can see
Yes, yes.
because nobody's used this. I'm pretty sure nobody's used the same one so far, too. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to see where all these different people are at within their life. And then I guess like one final question for you is, do you have any closing thoughts or things that you want to share before we close out?
Yeah, please. I honestly, when you asked me to do this, I just thought, well, if anybody would like hear my story and like take a chance on themselves, like I feel like that would be important. And I just want to say, like, not everything happens all at once. Just because for me it happened in 1 year, like I think that's a very short timeline. I think in some ways it was hard work, in some ways it was just good fortune. But like I do really believe that there is something to just putting out your authentic self. If you want something, like you should go for it, because if at the end of your life, if all you did was like go to work and like hate and like wait for the weekends, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what would even be the point? Like what did you do? I don't know. So like not that you should do something that would like lose you your house or something like that, but like do like even in small quantities. And I think you'll be surprised what good things come your way when you act in alignment with the things that make you feel grateful.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then I'm just gonna end with the outro real quick. So apologies ahead of time. Again, I have not memorized my intro or my
That's
extro,
okay. You're
so
making
I'm
it
gonna be
happen.
reading it. Yeah. Thank you again for joining me for this journey of rediscovery. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who might need it. Remember, healing isn't linear and growth takes courage. Oh gosh. Blue. Hey.
Of course.
Stop. Be good. Be quiet. Okay, thank you. Remember, healing isn't linear and growth takes courage, but you're never alone in it. Let's keep the conversation going. Follow the Rediscovery Journal on Instagram at the Rediscovery Journal and connect with our community. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and most of all, keep showing up for yourself.